You're in the kitchen. Your cat's staring up at you, wide-eyed, tail twitching, watching your every move. You drop a piece of food by accident. Your cat is on it instantly. It's cute, so you let it happen. Maybe you even start sharing bites now and then. Just a nibble of chicken here, a drop of milk there. But here's where it gets risky. Some of the foods we eat every day, the ones we barely think about, can be incredibly harmful to cats. And the scary part is, many of them don't cause instant symptoms. They don't make your cat collapse or throw up immediately. The effects can build slowly, quietly damaging organs, gut function, or metabolism over time. So let's talk about it, clearly and completely. Because if you want your cat to live a long, healthy life, it starts with knowing what not to put in their bowl, their treat dish, or their curious little mouth. Let's start with one of the most misunderstood items: milk. We grow up thinking cats and milk go together. Cartoons, books, movies, they all show it. But most adult cats are actually lactose intolerant. When they're kittens, they produce an enzyme called lactase, which breaks down the lactose in their mother's milk. But as they grow up and wean off, their bodies stop making as much of that enzyme. So when you pour a saucer of cow's milk for your adult cat, they can't digest it properly. That leads to gas, diarrhea, and stomach discomfort, and over time, it can irritate the lining of the gut and disrupt their nutrient absorption. Even if your cat seems to like it, it doesn't mean it's doing them any favors. Another one people don't expect? Onions and garlic. These two show up in almost every cooked meal we eat. Soups, sauces, stews, even store-bought baby food. But for cats, even a small amount of onion or garlic, whether raw, cooked, or powdered, can damage red blood cells. It starts with mild symptoms: drooling, weakness, low appetite. But with repeated exposure, it can lead to a dangerous type of anemia. This isn't one of those "don't worry unless they eat a whole bulb" situations. In cats, even small amounts of onion powder, like what you'd find in seasoning blends, can cause harm over time. That's why feeding scraps from your plate, especially seasoned meats or leftovers, is a gamble. Next on the list is chocolate. Most cat owners know chocolate is toxic to dogs, but it's just as bad, and in some ways worse, for cats. Chocolate contains theobromine and caffeine, two compounds that stimulate the nervous system and heart. Cats don't metabolize these substances well, and even small amounts can cause vomiting, diarrhea, tremors, and seizures. Dark chocolate is especially dangerous because it contains higher levels of theobromine. And while most cats aren't naturally drawn to sweets, they might lick chocolate-flavored ice cream, cake frosting, or cookies, and that's where accidental exposure happens. Now let's talk about bones, yes, even natural ones. Raw bones may seem like a natural treat, but they come with real risks. Cooked bones are even worse. They can splinter easily and cause internal damage, choking, or blockages. Even if a cat chews cautiously, fragments can lodge in the throat or intestines. And if the bone has been cooked, its texture changes in a way that makes splintering far more likely. If you're feeding raw, and doing it under veterinary guidance, that's different. But giving your cat leftover chicken wings or meat bones from your dinner plate is asking for a trip to the emergency vet. Now here's a big one that often gets missed: raw dough. Raw bread dough, especially dough that contains yeast, is extremely dangerous for cats. If a cat eats raw dough, the yeast continues to rise in their stomach. That creates gas and expands the stomach dangerously, potentially causing bloat or even a twisted stomach, a condition called gastric dilatation volvulus. Even worse, yeast produces alcohol as it ferments. So a cat who eats rising dough can also suffer from alcohol poisoning, disorientation, tremors, seizures, and in severe cases, coma. Speaking of alcohol, let's talk about it directly. Alcohol in any form, beer, wine, spirits, fermented foods, or even food cooked in alcohol, is a strict no for cats. Their livers are not built to process ethanol, and even tiny amounts can be toxic. This isn't about cats drinking from a glass. Sometimes, alcohol sneaks into sauces, desserts, or marinades, and curious cats might lick the plate or the cooking spoon. The result? A slowed respiratory rate, drop in body temperature, vomiting, lack of coordination, and in severe cases, death. There's no safe dose of alcohol for cats. Period. Another food that sneaks under the radar is grapes and raisins. This one's especially strange because scientists still aren't sure exactly what compound makes grapes toxic to cats and dogs, but the reaction is well documented. In some pets, even a single grape or raisin has caused sudden kidney failure. Others may tolerate small amounts and show no signs, but the risk is so unpredictable that no amount is considered safe. Symptoms can appear within hours: vomiting, lethargy, refusal to eat, followed by a sharp drop in kidney function. And since cats are smaller than dogs, the threshold for toxicity is even lower. Caffeine is another serious problem. Tea, coffee, soda, energy drinks, all of these contain caffeine. And cats are much more sensitive to it than we are. Just licking the foam off a coffee cup or sneaking a sip from your glass can lead to hyperactivity, heart palpitations, tremors, and elevated blood pressure. Even caffeine pills, like those used for alertness or weight loss, can be lethal in small amounts if a cat chews through the bottle or finds a spilled tablet. Now here's one that surprises many cat owners: tuna. But not just any tuna, human-grade canned tuna, especially when fed often or exclusively. Cats love tuna. The smell, the flavor, the texture, it's irresistible. But tuna packed for humans isn't nutritionally balanced for cats. It lacks key vitamins and minerals, including vitamin E, and can lead to deficiencies if fed too often. Excess tuna can also cause mercury buildup over time, especially if it's the only protein source in the cat's diet. This can lead to neurological issues, poor coordination, and even tremors in extreme cases. Tuna should be an occasional treat, not a dietary staple. Let's talk about fat trimmings and processed meat. You might think a little piece of bacon or fat from your steak is harmless. But fatty scraps, especially cooked ones, can upset a cat's stomach quickly. They're hard to digest and can trigger pancreatitis, a painful inflammation of the pancreas. Cats with pancreatitis often vomit, lose interest in food, and become lethargic. Processed meats like ham, sausages, or deli slices are also a bad idea. They're usually high in sodium, preservatives, and spices that can irritate a cat's digestive system and strain the kidneys. What about fruits and vegetables? Some are fine, others are not. Avocados, for example, contain a substance called persin, which can be mildly toxic to cats and cause vomiting or diarrhea. Tomatoes, especially unripe or green ones, contain solanine, which can irritate the gut and nervous system. And citrus fruits like lemons, limes, and grapefruits are very acidic and can upset the stomach. Even though a small nibble might not send your cat to the vet, it's not worth the risk. Their digestive systems simply aren't built for that kind of variety. And finally, we need to talk about dog food. It might seem harmless. Your cat steals a few bites from the dog's bowl, or you run out of cat food and substitute with dog food for a day. But here's the issue. Cats and dogs have completely different nutritional needs. Cats require higher levels of taurine, an amino acid they cannot produce on their own. Dog food doesn't contain enough of it. They also need more vitamin A and specific types of fatty acids that dogs can make themselves, but cats cannot. Feeding your cat dog food regularly can lead to malnutrition, eye problems, and heart disease. It might not cause immediate symptoms, but over time, the damage adds up. So what's the bottom line? The list of foods you shouldn't feed your cat isn't just about avoiding toxicity. It's about respecting their biology. Cats are not mini people. They're obligate carnivores with specific metabolic needs. They don't process plant matter, sugar, fat, or seasonings the way we do. What feels like a loving treat might actually be causing harm, slowly, silently, and avoidably. The best way to feed your cat is to stick to a high-quality, nutritionally balanced cat food that's formulated for their life stage and health needs. Keep treats species appropriate, avoid giving scraps from your plate, and store human foods where curious paws can't reach. If you've accidentally given your cat something they shouldn't eat, or you're unsure whether a food is safe, call your vet or a pet poison hotline. Time matters, and many cases can be treated if caught early. And if this script helped you catch something you didn't know was risky, subscribe. Because when it comes to your cat's health, knowledge isn't just helpful, it's life-saving.